What's up everyone, Kevin Wagstaff here. I'm filming the intro to this video from home because I really wanted to get it out there, and we are working from home this week due to the coronavirus. So this is about hiring an admin staff to your team, whether or not it's a good idea, what to consider. And I've got three very sharp gentlemen to weigh in on this, and Mike actually brought his admin with him to weigh in as well. So I hope you enjoy it. Again, I think it's a very important function to growing in this business, and so hopefully they give you guys some good tips and just their experience on hiring and what they were thinking around that time. So hope this is helpful, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks. What's up everybody? As you guys know, we are talking about the decision to hire admin staff, not answer your own calls, and so I wanted to get some real live feedback, and we have Mike Barnhill here in the office along with Bailey, and I'll let them tee up and introduce themselves, and we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Mike Barnhill with National Property Inspections, Denver Metro East. Been at this for 5 years now. In fact, coming into the spring, it'll be 5 years. And yeah, just the growth curve was such that it became a necessity. And then in hindsight, it's proven to be.
Yeah. At what point was it enough of a pain point? Was it year 2, year 3?
Yeah.
When did you start to feel?
Sure. I'd say for the last 2.5 years, I knew I would be heading in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't always pull the trigger when you want to. And so I knew I'd be heading this direction when your evenings are just gone, when your weekends are imposed upon, or when you're even, my wife and I would go somewhere, take a little side trip, and just a minute, I have to just do this quick little thing. And so those were the times when I knew I would have to move this direction. Okay. And when I say because so many Spectora users know that the software kind of gets us out of that evening report.
Doing the reports.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's so many other everything but inspections jobs.
Yep.
Right? How many of us have answered the phone and taken the order on a scrap of paper or whatever, and I got to go home and I'll send the inspection contract out tonight.
Yep.
Or there's so much of that.
Yep.
And so that's when I knew that I would have to seek out somebody to help me with that everything but inspections part.
Okay. And talk to me a little about the thought of someone besides you answering the phone.
Yeah.
And like the natural, I think anything when you hand it over, how scary that was. And what was your thought process?
Yeah. So like so many of us business owners, we think we're the only ones that can do what we do.
Right.
There's an ego. There's an ego that goes into owning a business. And you're like, well, nobody can do it like me. And the truth is nobody can do it like you.
Because you're you. You're the only one.
Right. People don't call National Property Inspections. They call Mike Barnhill.
Right. And
so the first thing I did is what many of us do. I went with a call center.
Okay.
So I tried a call center 6 months, gave it an honest try.
Mm-hmm.
Was disappointed almost all of those 6 months. It really was a disappointing thing.
Yeah.
And part of it was not to knock call centers, but they have a productivity that they need to hit, and I understand that, but they can't be even remotely what we're trying to convey to our clients and to our realtor partners.
Right.
So then I decided if I can hire somebody that is loyal to us, right, who is in the peaks and valleys with us, they'll know how to talk to our clients.
Yeah. They'll
know what's important to us day to day, week to week, and month to month.
Yeah.
And indeed, that's proven out.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And Bailey, let's hear from you. What is your background and kind of where were you at before working with Mike, and kind of how did this all come together?
Yeah. So I'm Bailey Templeman with National Property Inspections, and I do not have a background in home inspection. This is a whole new world to me.
That's good. We need more of that.
Right.
We need more outside perspective.
Fresh blood, I guess.
Yeah.
I actually worked at Chick-fil-A for 4 years.
Okay.
So even though my background is in home inspections,
my
background is in people.
Yeah.
I love people. I love talking to people. I love building a relationship with people. And so that's what the draw was to this position.
Nice.
And that's what I do.
Honestly, I'm not even kidding you. I have thought about trying to poach someone from there, because every time I go there, the service is just so great. So I'm just like, you're making me happy just like coming here. I'm like, do you want to work for Spectora?
I will vouch for that as being a great idea.
Yeah, they do something really well. So what was the kind of onboarding or training like? I'm guessing it was a whole different world working with someone closely as opposed to
Yeah.
trying to tell a call center, hey, this is the vibe I'm trying to convey. This is
Yeah.
what I do well. Like, what was that part like?
Yeah. So part of the strategy for me, and when I decided I was going to hire somebody, a full-time person, I'm a big believer in hiring the person.
Mhm.
And we, I had people apply who had marketing degrees, who had marketing experience, but I felt like I needed to hire somebody that I was going to work with every day. And while we don't see each other every day, we interact to some degree.
You're close, yeah.
And so I was hiring a coworker. Who do I want to interact with, argue with, agree with? And so that was the first thing I did, was think, I'm not looking for necessarily a marketing person. Once Bailey came on, and I remember in the interview, I remember even telling my wife before I started interviewing, I said, honey, this person that's going to join us is going to spend a couple weeks with me in the field, on the roof, in the crawl space. We're going to do inspections because I need them to see this business, touch it, feel it, understand it, understand it. Not that 2 weeks gives you a deep understanding, but it was a touch, And so I remember proposing that to you, and she was all in. She was like, okay.
Didn't flinch, huh?
No.
She was like, cool, let's do it.
Disappointingly, in 2 weeks, we never had a tough crawl space.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of these days.
You're going to get one.
I'm going to get a phone call.
And that's why we're going to have people ride along with you, because we're like,
right.
Every single person that's in this industry needs to see it,
Needs to see it, touch it, feel it. Yeah.
Because how can you speak about it authentically?
And I think it was helpful. Do you? Yeah. So that when you're picking up the phone, you sort of know what's going to happen in 3 days when we go out there. Yeah.
Answer questions a lot easier.
Yeah.
Just having lived it, right?
Yeah.
Because what was your perception prior to it? I'm guessing you probably didn't know what it was or what the point was.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know home inspection was even necessary in a buy-sell type transaction.
Yeah. So what types of things did you ask in the interview? Like what was that mentality? Like you said, you were looking to hire a person, a good human, a person you can work with. It's hard to get through that. It's hard to get to that in an interview. So I'm just curious, like,
it is.
Was there anything you did differently to kind of gauge personality, feel, like how someone is?
So one of the things I did, and I'll be darned if I'll remember any of the questions now, but I wrote out the kinds of things that I wanted to ask. And before I interviewed anybody, the night before or that morning, I would reread those things so that I could ask it in the same way. Because I wasn't really so much looking for an answer, a correct answer. There's not a correct answer to those kinds of questions, but the response method, the way somebody responds to a question. And I'm no psychologist, but Kevin, there's just some things you feel. You're like, oh, cool, get it. That one went the way I would want it to go. And so it just became this. Yeah, that's how that rolled.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a feel thing. It
is.
A
It
gut
truly
feel.
is. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and we've interviewed people here where you just click and you just like, okay, you get certain things.
Yeah, right.
And it's hard to explain that.
It is. It truly is. Yeah.
So where do you see this going from here? Is it, can you envision a future where you have multiple people as you grow, like a couple inspectors to one support staff and growing the team? Yes.
So we recently brought on our first full-time inspector. So our staff is now Bailey and I, and we have a full-time inspector and we have a part-time inspector.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And so the goal is so now our full-time inspector, his name is Cole. Mm-hmm. Cole is now busy every day because I've just shucked off all of my great tasks to him. And so now Bailey's job is to make me busy every day.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I'm back at that, then we'll, tab it off to somebody else again. As far as the everything but inspection side, I think, and Bailey and I have had this conversation. She sometimes gets frustrated she's trying to achieve some marketing traction.
Yeah.
Right. And you know how it is, right? I got to call so-and-so. I got this great idea and I'm doing this. And now the damn phone rings.
Yeah. Yep. Breaks your flow.
It does.
Yep.
It
breaks
wrecks
the flow.
It, huh? And so we've had that conversation. I think for me, a large part of, at this point, for the next few months, is for me to go back to being the phone person and let Bailey get her marketing traction.
I love that.
So as she starts to do that, and then that'll get back to, then I'll be busy again and you'll have to be dealing with phones again. And so it'll just be a constant struggle, back and forth struggle, but it's a balancing act.
Carving time out for growth. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's how this will go, is that I'll go back to being the office staff that's doing it and let Bailey kind of let her marketing wings spread,
I love it. And let us know too, like on the side, just like anything we can help with since we're local. We love that.
Yeah.
We have a creative
Happy
team,
to do that.
Happy to collaborate there.
Yeah, cool.
What would you say to inspectors that are in the shoes where you were a year ago? Like, what advice would you give them when thinking about, like, man, just getting bogged down answering the phone?
Yeah.
Trying to grow.
Best decision I've made. I think
just jump, just do it.
Just flip and do it. I went through this exercise of, man, I'm so busy. I need another inspector to help. And so I picked up Sean, who's our part-time guy. Mm-hmm. He's a firefighter, so he's got a pretty good gig.
It works well with them.
Yeah, so that's him. And the more and more I fought through the problems, the day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month problems, I realized my problems were in the evenings, not during the day.
Yep.
I needed that person to deal with the everything but inspections. And I've used that word several times, but I have no other word.
Yeah.
And so in looking back, if you're an inspector that's doing 25, 30 inspections a month and you're a one-man operation, it's still worth it to have a Bailey, to have that everything but inspections person.
It's a short-term hit, right? You got to pay someone, but then it allows you, I think, to springboard forward is my impression.
It does. So your capacity will increase, right? I mean, honest to gosh, if I'm not so worn out in the evenings and then I've got to go do this marketing thing on Tuesday afternoon or whatever, then I can fit in another inspection. So your capacity is going to increase, probably not enough to pay the whole salary of that other person, but there's a value in peace of mind. There's a value in lowering your stress value.
Quality of life. Yeah.
There absolutely is. And so that's the best story I can tell is that apply that value.
Love it.
And it's not a number, but there's a value.
Yeah, there's a feeling. There's value to feel the feeling.
Right.
And one last question from Bailey. I'd love to get your advice to anyone that may be watching this that is from outside the industry and learning it. Like what do you wish you knew now then that you know now?
I think the biggest thing is just to be patient. It's at the beginning, at least for me, I have high expectations for myself and I like to, things get done the right way. And when you're new to an industry, it just doesn't happen right away. So you have to be patient.
Yeah.
Patient with yourself, extend yourself some grace in that. But yeah, also expect, if you're a relational person, it will come naturally over time. And so even though at the beginning, real estate agents are, they're different.
It could be challenging.
It can
be challenging. I can say, I'll say what you can't say. They can be terrible at times.
They're kind of their own breeds. You have to know how to talk to them.
There's a way.
And that, you might make a couple agents mad at first, but you got to go through a couple to really create a bond and a relationship with people. So
yeah, repetition, right?
Yeah.
Happens, gets better with repetition.
It's all about relationship, I feel like, as far as the marketing side of things.
All right.
And that this is a very relationship-based business, and I even have to remind Bailey sometimes when she's frustrated with dealing with the phones and all that.
Yeah.
That also is marketing, right? You're not growing business, but you're now managing an account, right? When realtor so and so is calling you once every couple of weeks for an inspection, and you're answering the phone and just booking an inspection, you're doing way more than that. You're managing that account. You're making, you're fostering that relationship with that realtor. And so that's such a critical piece. And so they know, and we have realtors now writing to us and saying, hey, Mike and Bailey, and I remember telling Bailey early on, I said, the goal for me, we'll have begun to succeed when people are calling and I answer the phone and say, hey, hi, Mike, is Bailey there?
And you talk to Bailey. Yep. Yeah. That's when you won.
And that started happening pretty early on. And I thought, cool, it's on.
That's awesome.
Let's go.
That's the win.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's our story. Right. And I couldn't be happier.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to join us.
Yeah,
Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah.
Let's get into some of the admin stuff that I think people kind of want to hear about. It was a big topic of debate at the IEB conference that we were at. So I figured you guys had gone through something with this. So yeah. You just want to re-update people that are listening or watching kind of who you are, who you work with, and kind of where you guys are at in the progression of the company.
Okay. My name is Ryan Howell, and I work for AmPro Inspections in Colorado Springs. We're about 3.5 years old. we hit our $1 million mark last year, the end of 2019. So it's kind of a big milestone for us. My background is actually not in inspections, although I've been in the industry for about 4 years now, maybe even 5. It's kind of hard to tell, but at any rate, my background is actually in agency work, doing creative and photography, videography, web development, online campaigns for issue advocacy groups, and working on Capitol Hill a lot. So I got exposed to a lot of like how very large organizations operate, and how they hire, how they fire, and how they set standards for getting jobs done. I've always been involved with companies and organizations that have very tangible results. I don't operate in like kind of wishy-washy type industries where it's kind of hard to tell if you've done a good job or not.
Right.
So
Right.
I like having like real data and like things to support what's happening and why it's happening. If you don't know why it's happening, then like it's the scariest position ever. You could make $20 million a year, and if you don't know why you did, it's almost as bad as making $0 a year.
Right.
So anyway, that's a little bit of my background and kind of where I come from. My role in AmPro is whatever you want to call it, the general manager, CEO. Kind of hard to say that when you're kind of a smaller company and you got under 20 employees, but that's kind of what I do is help oversee day-to-day operations. And your question and like the topic of this podcast being admin work, I actually believe this is one of the most critical positions in an inspection company, because it's the person that touches the most clients and agents on like an hourly or daily basis, however you want to break that down. Yeah. There's just the most content or most contact. And if you're a single man operator, you probably know this, but it gets exponentially more intense as you start to scale up to multi and having, like in our case, like there are times where we've got like 12 to 14 inspections a day during the busy season happening. And there's a lot that's going on. There's questions, so everything gets multiplied and stuff. So it's critical that you have somebody who can handle the workload. And some of that is just tactically being able to do the job. So understanding Spectora, knowing how to solve problems with software, understanding ISN, like whatever you're using for kind of your order management. But one of the crucial skills is that problem solving component. Like, and people come to me like, hey, Spectora, like there's some problem with Spectora. And I'm like, well, okay, I didn't build Spectora. I don't know what's actually happening. You need to start diagnosing these problems for yourself and thinking through the problems, and be able to communicate, to your vendors what the issue that you're experiencing, being very, descriptive and detail oriented with that, because if not, then, we're going to kill a half a day trying to solve some software issue that may just be very, very simple. And you can look it up in the support documents, for example. So.
Right. So when you got to AmPro, you played a role in hiring an admin, right? So was it a decision to say, hey, double down on call centers, or is it, hey, let's get someone in-house? What was that kind of conversation like? Or I guess I don't even know, so I'm asking.
Yeah. So when I start getting involved with the company, whether it's like consulting or, in the past, or like I'm actually fulfilling a role, it's very important that I understand all the nuts and bolts of like how everything's working. So, I think it's important to take those calls and to, be in a position where you can, you understand, what's happening, for lack of a better term there. So, I definitely was taking calls, taking orders, fielding complaints, and that kind of a thing. So, once I got a handle on that, which, takes a few weeks, I mean, truthfully, to get through that, once I understood that more, that made it a lot easier to start defining all the things that, we needed to have done in terms of, the job description.
Yep. Was there, because you've experienced all worlds, like you understand call centers, you understand hiring in-house. Talk a little bit about just the training and onboarding, the degree of control that you have when you can customize the experience from the inside with an admin that you're sitting with or in the same room.
Yeah, so the first critical step in this is kind of doing what I just said, like going through, understanding the job completely. And if it's not you, if somebody's maybe already doing it and you're thinking about hiring another person or what have you, the first step is to do what I call time study. And this is a really painful but crucial, critical part of figuring this stuff out. And this is true for yourself as like the CEO or the general manager or the owner, whatever position you're in. But you need to understand how your time is being used. And the way you do that most effectively is that you document every 15-minute period what you're doing, exactly what you're doing. So the way I do it, I've got like a spreadsheet that I kind of print out, and for 2 weeks, I go through and analyze every 15 minutes. Now, I might, every hour or 2 hours, I might, go back and fill it in. And the key there is that you describe what you're doing just briefly, but then you put it into a couple different categories. And one of the categories is strategic, one of them is tactical, and one of them would be like like self-care or like, just family time or what have you, kind of like free time stuff. So you really got to do this on like a 24-hour type basis. So
I love that. I love knowing how you spend your time. Can you shed a little insight, because you obviously ran your own home inspection company in California and are leading things there. It's so common to have the 1, 2, 3 man operation that they're all answering the phones, or the main guy's answering the phones, and they're just on the treadmill. So what should that mental approach, on top of knowing how you spend your time, but then it's usually the financial reason. Usually I hear, I can't afford to pay someone to answer the phone all the time.
Well, I'll finish up like the second part to that time study thing, because it's like knowing how you're spending your time is one thing, but then you've got to categorize it, and I'll just define 2 things. So strategic work, like things that you're doing that are strategic in nature, means that only you can do it. And that is a bit of a spectrum, because eventually you want to be able to teach things that are strategic to you. You want to be able to teach them to other people, so that you can grow your business. If you don't do that, if you just think, oh, well, I'm the only one who can do this, then you have no business growing, because you need to change that mindset of like, oh, nobody else can do this, to, hey, I could train somebody else to do this. And that happens over time too. You may say, oh, there's a couple little things I could teach somebody now. And then over time, as you do this like once a quarter, you should find more and more things that you feel more comfortable letting other people do, and let those things, turn those things into tactical things. And the tactical things are just like answering the phone, taking an order, do things that can be taught to other people, so you can employ other people to do them. And so typically what you would do is you would take all those tasks that are related to like taking orders or what have you, like things that an administrative assistant, or we call it a transaction coordinator, whatever that's going to be. You would loop those, and that literally creates your job description, because you just went through and you're like, okay, right now I'm answering the phones, I'm taking orders, I'm fielding customer service requests, I'm, paying the Spectora bill, whatever it is, and, monitoring accounts. And that's kind of the magic sauce of that time study, is that you're able to take those tactical things that that you're doing right now that you really need other people to do, and that creates your job description. So it's very important that you get a crystal clear job description for people, so they understand like what they're doing. And then as part of the onboarding process, once you've kind of gone through and you've had this part, let's say you find somebody and you end up hiring them. The critical mistake that most business owners make is that they just like let people go and they don't check in on them. Particularly if it's like a direct report, like somebody that, if you're a one-man operator and you're like trying to scale, or you only got a couple people, you've got to be touching base with that hire like every single day for the first 30 days at least.
Yes.
Maybe it might be a little bit less, like you might do 3 days a week instead of 5, but you've got to be checking in regularly. And it may seem weird that you're like, how's everything going? But that's when you can start to figure out if there are cracks in your training, if there are cracks in what the expectation of the job was. And so the beautiful part is that, hey, you have them sign this document that says, here's what you're doing. And then you go through and you just hold their hand like every single day and make sure, okay, how's this going? How's that going? Like, where are you feeling? And I've kind of got some questions that I go through. It's kind of like an interview question that like every single day we go through. But it's like, where are your wins? Like, what's going awesome? What do we need to improve? Like, and is it a training thing? Because one thing I learned, that really kind of irritated me initially, like in business school, was like, it's always management's fault. Like, no matter what the problem is, it's management's fault. Why? Well, the worker's not doing their job. Well, dude, you hired them, you trained them, you decided what they're going to be doing and what they weren't going to be doing. If there's a problem there, it has, like, you are in control of that situation. And if you just want to blame it on somebody else, you're not going to get anywhere. You've got to take ownership of what you're doing there. And I've had that problem too, where somebody's come like, I just don't even understand how to do this. Like, you never walked me through this part. And to me, it seems like obvious, but to the person that's doing the job for the first time, it's not, because there's so many things that just naturally come to you because you've done them for, even 2 months or 6 months or 2 years or 20 years. It doesn't matter. They're easy for you. They're not easy for the people that are coming in. So it's up to you to have those check-ins. And it kind of scale, like the program I use for onboarding scales. So, first 30 days are really intense, and then it kind of backs off to like once a week and then once a month. And, minimum, you should be checking in once a month with everybody, just understanding like what's going on with them, understanding their personal goals, like how do we help get you to that next place too. So that kind of gets a little bit deeper into just like managing people and like making sure your team is like all on the same page. But a lot of it just has to do with paying attention to like these humans that are working with you and making sure that they feel like they're part of this family, and that, you can help them with training. You can help them with like little things that they need. I get a lot of questions about like, oh, what incentive programs do you have? Or like, what, how do you like build culture and that kind of thing? And like, should we get a ping pong table or like go bowling or whatever it is? And if you have more of these like targeted interactions, I don't want to call them meetings, because you don't just want to like sit down and have a meeting, but like a very intentional type of interaction with somebody where you're learning exactly where they're at, like how things are going. They're going to tell you what would be awesome. They're going to be like, hey, I don't need, like all these, like perks or whatever. I just want, like, it'd be cool if we had a team gathering where we went bowling. Well, in a lot of cases, your idea is going to be like $5,000 to like, distribute to the whole team, when all they really want is like a $250 like bowling night.
Yeah.
and like people are happier, and like it's more about like what they like, connecting with everybody else that's on the team and everything, and like having fun outside of work. So anyway,
Love that.
that's a big download on that, but I've seen it so much. It's just like sometimes it just pains me when people are like, oh yeah, we hired somebody, and then like, what's your onboarding program look like? What do you mean onboarding? It's like,
Yeah. We
that's
expect plug in
the beginning.
Yeah.
Beginning, it's not the end.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's great advice for multis all the way down to the single man of like, no, you don't just hire someone and they don't turn into you the next day and then start kicking ass. Like people need training and guidance. I want to hear your perspective on the ones, and thank you for digging into that, because I think for the multis and other guys that are building a team, huge to hear your perspective. For the guys that are scared to hire because they're like, oh, well then I don't have the money to do that, or how am I going to grow? Like, how should they be thinking in terms of, just hiring an admin to do these things? Because I think our industry can be fear-based and not take enough risks to grow. But
yeah,
how should they be thinking about it for the ones that are scared to hire someone to answer the phones?
There's a couple ways to cut that. One is, if you're not in the right mindset. I mean, mindset is like everything. It's kind of a buzzword these days, but like it really is everything. And you need to be very honest and truthful with yourself. And that means having a real conversation. Do I actually want to grow? Do I actually want to take on? Because it's kind of a pain in the butt to hire and manage and pay and like do all these things with employees. It takes a lot of resources and time, frankly. And so the way I look at it is, you've kind of got to if your decision is, hey, I definitely want to grow and I want to get to this next level, you've got to look at your time a lot differently. And one of like my favorite ways, and this is definitely not my idea, I picked it up from a guy I know in Silicon Valley that does a lot of venture capital and angel investing. And he's like, listen, from a very young age, I treated my time as if it was worth $5,000 an hour. Now, obviously, you're not going to get $5,000 an hour, but right from the start. But if you treat your time like it's worth $5,000, you start looking at, okay, where are, like, how can I leverage this time that's worth so much money? How do I create more value with my time? And a lot of it goes back to that strategic versus tactical use of your time.
Love that.
Yeah. So you have to say, yeah, okay, if the benchmark is going to be $5,000 an hour, great. Now I need to figure out, what can I do that would actually generate that value? And for a company, like, as you get bigger and bigger, one meeting with like the right agent or the right broker or the right, just like even a lunch with like just the right person, or even a phone call in some instances, can turn your business around and can start to generate a lot more than what you think you're getting paid right now. It's, maybe a couple $100 an hour. It's great money, but like, you need to move past this. If you truly want to be, a business owner, you need to move past this idea that you're trading dollars for time. It's the worst investment ever. You really need to think about, okay, what can I do to leverage my time, whether that's through software, whether that's through people. Like, there are ways to leverage your time so that when you actually look at it on paper, you're like, well, shoot, I mean, I've got all these people working for me now, and I've trained them, I've cultivated this culture, I manage these people, but really, I put in 20, 30 hours a week worth of real effort. If you really want to break it down, like, that's about as much as we're really going to get out of people, in terms of like, strategic thinking, because you can't just be like at 100% all the time.
Right.
it starts to get a lot closer to $5,000 an hour pretty quickly. But the only way you're going to be able to do that is to leverage that time. And so that's the decision that you need to make is, hey, if I want to grow this business, then I have to leverage my time, because I'm not going to make $5,000 an hour just telling people that I'm going to do a home inspection for $5,000 an hour. You can only do it when you have people around you that are helping along the way and helping to leverage that time for you. So that's how I would frame it, is like, how do you get to $5,000 an hour? It's gonna have to, like, you're gonna have to suck up some of your fear there, and just do the calculation. Like, okay, well, how much time is an office admin gonna save me? You're gonna know that from your time study, because you're gonna say, listen, like, I didn't realize this, but 60% of my time is spent doing tactical things. Okay, if you can free up 60% of your time to go do things that are strategic in nature, then what is that going to mean for your business? Having, connecting with people that can actually, like, take you to that next level, developing ancillary services, which, we're big on. We do radon mitigation, mold remediation, and a couple of things that are very, it's a tangent to home inspection, but we derive a lot of income from that. And guess what? It's outside the standards of practice. So it's very, very simple and very ethical and easy to just get more and more business, to get second money from people, because they already trust you. They already know you. They're more than happy to do business with you again. So being able to develop those businesses takes time and effort. And you can definitely get to $5,000 an hour with the ancillaries. I'll tell you that much. So.
Absolutely. That's great. That's a great mindset shift, and I hope everyone really takes that to heart. In the last couple of minutes we have here, do you have certain places you did look for admins or posted the job? And then what are just a couple, like, maybe questions or things you use to make sure you're finding the right person? Like, how do you?
Sure. So a couple things there. I have spent north of $50,000 on recruiting. Actually, a lot more than that. It's over six figures. Because we, in the past, in other companies that I've been involved with and have started and so forth, like, we're looking for very high skilled labor, and sometimes that involves, like, paying a recruiter and all this stuff. So just take it from me, like, I've spent a ton of money. I've seen a lot of stuff. And the performance of different job, recruiting techniques. And for whatever reason, maybe this is a fluke, but I have hired the best talent from Craigslist. It sounds crazy, but it's just the way it is. So the biggest thing is, like, so I would start with Craigslist, because it's the cheapest, and I'm just telling you, I've received the best candidates from Craigslist.
Love it.
If you've had luck with other, job posting sites or whatever, great. But I'm just telling you, it's cheap. Check out Craigslist first. I would make sure that job description is in there, because particularly for admin people, you want a personality type that likes attention to detail, that is naturally drawn to that stuff. Because if not, then you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, oh, this is just some wishy-washy. So make sure your job description is on point, derived from that time study, exactly what they're gonna be doing, just step by step by step by step. But also make it fun. Like, you need to inject some personality into it, because nobody wants to go just, like, punch in, do their job, and leave. Or at least that's not the person that you want to have around. You want somebody that's gonna have some passion there. And our most recent hire, he does admin work. He's an internationally certified inspector. So, like, he knows the industry. You want people that have some technical background, that can talk to an agent or a client about a particular defect and not sound like a buffoon about it. Like, oh, I don't know. Or worse, like, we're just keep on referring them to you, because a call center can do that.
Yeah.
So, make sure they've got some technical expertise and reach high. Like, put some demands on these people, because people like to be challenged, and particularly if you include that you're going to provide training for them, I think that's a great idea. Like, I think every person that's taking a call should have a InterNACHI certification, or whatever your certification choice is. They should be very able to answer those questions. It will put them in another tier, because agents don't really want to be like handed off to like the owner or whatever, and you don't want that either, because again, getting back to your time, like, dude, really, you think you're gonna get paid $5,000 an hour by like answering a technical question about a report? Like,
Right.
no. Like, anybody can learn that, and they ought to. So they should have high standards for your employees, so that everybody's on the same page, and you don't just have like the admin office people that all they know is how to answer phones and be polite. You want them to have like a vested interest in the business.
Love that. Ryan, this has been a 30 minutes packed full of good info. We need to get another hour down where we can dive into some other topics. We'll do that
Yeah.
soon. But man, thank you for spending even 30 minutes with us. This will be a part of a mashup kind of on hiring admins. But I'll definitely link to all your stuff and websites and where people can get a hold of you in this episode. But man, thanks for packing it in with us in 30 minutes, and we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, man. I had a lot of fun, so hope to do it again sometime.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
Cool, man.
All right. Yeah, I'm glad we got a hold of each other, man. I didn't think we'd ever catch up.
I know, for sure. I keep wanting to like actually see your face in real life, but I can't,
and the reasons we can't get a hold of each other are very good ones. So I know it's because we're both cranking and busy. So
better than the alternative.
Yeah. If we were always able to get each other on the phone, that could be bad.
Right. There'd be no reason for us to do these videos.
Yeah, we wouldn't learn. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to teach anybody anything. But how's everything, man? It's things are picking up cross country, I'm hearing. So I'm sure it's no different there.
Yeah, no, we had a phenomenal February. So I'm like, it's actually scary. That's how good it was, because I'm like, well, crap, I got to do something. I've got to get more inspectors. So I don't know. I got one guy actually lives a few doors down from me. He's just starting his training, and hopefully get him through school. Probably April or May. He'll hopefully get his license somewhere around there.
Isn't it fun and refreshing, the different kind of work it is to scale and manage people, and then just running through the wall 100 times in a row, because you did that. You've done that part.
Sometimes I kind of feel like I wish I could continue to do that. Honestly, I think about it all the time, bro. I'm like, man, if I could just be happy being a one-man show, I can make a great living and all this stuff. But it's just not me.
It's not in you, because I remember this from someone else, probably George Scott, when he was saying good people that he wants to help just kept asking him to do inspections and for more help. And it's like, you'd have to say no. And you don't seem like a guy that likes turning people down that are like, Daylan, we want you.
No, that's, yeah. And then, but as you grow, that's the other difficulty you run into, right? Is people that want me. And it's like, well, you can't always have me, unfortunately.
You can have extensions of you, but.
Exactly. Like, I promise you, they're just as good.
Yeah. Yeah, but I wanted to get you on specifically for this topic. One, because like the podcast, I still get people that ask for you, and I'm sure you still get calls because you gave your everything. You put your heart into that, and you like spoke from the heart, and your growth story is so freaking awesome. So, thanks for that, for one. But two, after coming back from IEB, I just realized that growth phase of 1, 2, 3 inspectors and hiring someone to answer the phones and or be in charge of growth is such a big topic, and there's a reason why so many companies don't go from 1 to 3 to 5 to 7 to 10. So I wanted to hear your experience, for one, kind of where you're at in the journey in terms of admin, someone answering the phone, how you used to do it, and just see where you're at now.
Man, I'll just start off by saying it's the best money I've ever spent, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I had reached the point where I had to do something different. It was killing me. My inspection times were dropping because I was always on the phone. You know, and you don't get you don't have explosive growth like we've had without answering that phone every time. And so the reason that I decided to go the route of hiring somebody instead of just like going with a call center or something is because um, I know how how what I've done to build this business and instill trust, and I wanted some sort of control over how that was going to go down when it wasn't me answering the phone. um, you know, and you just can't get that with a call center like you can by having somebody in house. And um, you know, the other benefit to it is I know who that person is. Like, it's not just somebody that's going to get put into a queue or just the next person. It's like I know that, you know, one of the other keys to our success has been relationship building with these agents, and you can't do that with a call center. And so I wanted to perpetuate that you know, those relationships are important to us, and when you call, you're going to get customized service where they're, you know, you know, Jeremy's learning, the guy that I hired, he's learning everybody's names and everybody knows Jeremy now. And so you know, we're what, 9 months in, I think, since I hired him. And you know, so and they're like, agents call me now and they talk about the conversations that they've had with him, which I wouldn't be getting that kind of feedback if it was a call center. So it's just like, it just continues uh the things that made you great in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and it's just something I don't feel like you can get that personal touch with a call center, because you lose. It's not about control, it's just about continuing that premium level of customer service, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that trigger point? Was there a moment or was it a phase where it was like, this is running me ragged? What was the thought process like when you were like, I gotta hire someone?
Well, so last summer, I mean, last year was ridiculous. We had a fantastic year last year. We closed out with just over 700 inspections between me and one other guy, and um, very, very strong, you know, monetary.
Yeah.
We had a really great year last year. And so because it was so busy, and I was also, it was kind of like I had to do something. I'm starting like a yearly where we are like the whole company, meaning me and my other guy, but
Yeah.
now I've got Jeremy. So, but having like a yearly company trip. So last summer, I planned a trip to go to Mexico, and I was like, man, like, I'm not going to be able to enjoy this doing what I've always done.
Right.
And so I just started thinking about it, and I was getting, and plus it was all these pain points, you know, like like I said, my inspection times were dropping. I was getting frustrated. I was coming home and working myself ragged after I just got done working all day. And you know, it was like all this stuff just kept piling up. I was noticing I was slipping, and I was like, I better do something before I start making people mad and losing relationships or damaging relationships that I've worked really hard to build. And so those pain points really are what just caused me to have to pull the trigger. And so I just put it on Facebook and said, this is what I'm looking for. And it's kind of funny. Both of the guys that work for me are friends. Like, they're people that I've known for years. My other inspector, we've just been friends for a long time. Jeremy, my admin guy, he actually used to be the pastor where I was the youth pastor. So he was actually my boss at one point. And he just kind of replied, he's got a master's in business, like one of those overqualified people.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I would love to come work for you. And I was like, really? And
Okay.
he's like, yeah. And so I told him what I was willing to pay, and he said, yeah. So, you know, I just got him I just got him a cell phone, and
Do you do it hourly or by calls booked, or a mix of both?
I just I kind of did what I do. Like, with my guys, I don't pay a percentage, or it's a flat rate.
Mhm.
And so I kind of kept the same thing with him. It's just, a salary week per week.
Cool.
I kind of feel like it helps people, because it's answering the phones and stuff, and sending emails. But he also, and we'll probably get it. You'll probably ask me about this, but he also does other things besides answering the phones that are
Right.
needed. So that's another side benefit, is like for guys that are in high radon areas, or where you got to have those people that can just run and drop monitors and pick them up, like do simple tasks. Admin person is fantastic for that in the beginning,
Yeah.
because there's no way you could keep somebody busy doing just answering phones and
No.
stuff. You're a smaller, like 2-person shop. But man, I mean, he saves me so much time and hassle, because he goes and he drops off radon monitors, he picks up water samples, and all the stuff that I was having to do, he takes care of all of it. And it's given me my sanity back.
Dude, okay. So you mentioned saves me time, gives me my sanity back. So many inspectors know they need to do this. What do you say to the ones that inevitably say, oh, well, no one's going to answer the phone like me, or I can't find good people? Like, I've heard so many excuses of like, I'd rather run myself ragged than take a chance on someone and maybe invest in them and guide them and mentor them and believe in someone. Like, what do you say to those people? What's your advice for those guys?
Don't do it. Like, honestly, I said the very first thing in this
Yeah,
video.
best money.
Best money I've ever spent. I pay him more than I probably should. I pay him $400 a week. That's a pretty decent wage for what he's doing.
Yeah.
But it keeps him happy. And honestly, like, that's less than one inspection. Like,
Yeah.
And I would say that if you have the fear that nobody's going to answer the phones like you, that's a fact. That's 100% fact. They're not going to answer the phones like you.
Right. Accept it.
Are they going to answer the phone as often as you do? No. I was freaked out by all of this. Trust me, because I've got something really special, and I know it. Like, I've been able to build something very robust pretty quickly. And I was like, and it's just so scary, because you don't want to lose it. You're like, oh man, I'm really doing well. But I was like, you know what? Here's the mentality. I went into it with this. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to try it for a couple months, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like, I can always pull the plug, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I just sat him down. I guess if you're worried about that, then you just need to up your game as far as how you're willing to mentor somebody, because that all rests on you. I mean, yeah, you got to find the right person that's teachable, but if you find somebody teachable, that's all you're looking for.
Then it's on you. Yeah, the rest is on you.
Yeah, you give them a script, you show them have them sit with you while you answer the phone a few times, and see how you sell a product, because that was my biggest fear. I'm really good at selling. Like, I can get somebody on the phone, and if I talk to a client, I will get the inspection, and I will probably upsell them on several other ancillary services. Not stuff that they don't need, but stuff that they didn't think about.
Yeah.
And so I was worried about that, like, just losing all that extra revenue that, obviously we're trying to bump those inspection fees up.
Yeah.
So, give them script. Make sure you're willing to sit down and teach them. Let them see how you do it, and tell them what is expected. I mean, but also say, you know what, as long as I see that everything's working and I don't get any complaints, like, do whatever, inject your personality into it. You want to give them some freedom to be who they are. So, that's all. Like, 90% of that is all on the business owner, because your job is literally, you got to find the right person, you got to train them, but when you do that, man, oh man, it'll set you free. It sets you free. I mean, so kind of just we went on that vacation, that trip to Mexico.
Yeah.
And I've switched to AirPods now, but I used to always wear a neckband style headset,
Mhm.
Bluetooth headset. And I mean, dude, it was a collar. It was a, I'm not like, it was so weird. I always had it on because that's what my business hinged on, was my ability to communicate and do it efficiently. So um, we went to Mexico. I had my headset on, and my wife was like, "Honey, you can take it off." And it was a weird moment for me. I'm not kidding. It was really weird to think like I can go on vacation and like just enjoy my family and not have to be, you know, oh, go ahead, go on. Let me just take this one call real, because
Right.
that's what everything hinges on.
Yeah.
And it was a weird feeling, but the moment I took it off, I felt a massive weight lifted off my shoulders.
That means you've done the work. You've trained you got the right person. You trained them well. It allowed you to believe that, hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I haven't seen, like I said, I was keeping an eye on everything, making sure inspection fees were up, were up. We were not losing inspections, stuff like that, agent retention, all of those things. And everything's been great.
Speak on that part of it, because I think the checks and balances part is where a lot of people fall short. And just as a owner myself, it's like, I think the common pitfall is you hire someone and just expect them to be great, like without training, without checking on things, without coaching. So like that took extra time out of your day, right? And it was probably like a ramp up of time and effort until it, smoothed out.
Yeah, definitely. In the beginning, it was almost like doing double duty.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it didn't really take long, and that goes into the proper selection of the right people, right? I got lucky, and it was a buddy of mine who was way overqualified, but he enjoys it. It's easy. He gets a little bit of extra income for him and his family for very minimal work, but just the peace of mind that it has given to me to be able to. And we took a trip to London for Christmas, my whole family. And again, it was just one of those freedom moments where I was like, holy cow, I was able to be gone for 10 days.
Yeah.
And I talked to everybody like twice.
Amazing.
I never would have been able to do that ever. And, I know that I just know that things are being handled. And that you can't put a price on that. I would pay him double if that's what it took.
That's why we own our own businesses, right? To have some freedom at some point, to take a vacation.
At some point.
Yeah. At some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the network on Facebook, how would have you thought about how you would have gone about finding someone if you just didn't have such a good kind of friend network?
I think everybody's got that though. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't take much, man. I put that out there, and people are always looking for work, especially stay-at-home work.
Yeah.
Like you can find a stay-at-home mom like they just need a few some like play money or they're just looking for something to do other than sit at home.
Yeah.
And just you're bettering somebody else's life. It's just a good feeling. But I'm telling you, man, like the biggest benefit is that time back and the freedom, because that's what I think in the beginning of owning a business, that's what you lose.
Right.
Because you literally invest everything into it. And at some point, you've got to find a way to get back, and get to where you can kind of kick back again. And because otherwise, that's one of the biggest reasons why small businesses fail, is because eventually it just crushes you if you don't learn to relieve some of that duty onto other people. And I mean, if you're a one-man shop and you're happy with that, I still think you could do it and save your sanity, because when I was a one-man guy, I was killing myself. I was still doing it all, and I would hire him for 5, because like I said, that's less than one inspection for me. Why would I not do that?
Right.
As an inspector, everything boils down to how many inspections is this going to cost me?
Yep.
That's how you calculate everything in life, is like, how many inspections do I have to do to pay for this?
Yep. On the flip
And so,
like, does this open up your mind to be able to think strategically about your growth or do growth activities because you have that mind space back?
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's freed me up to be able to market a little bit more. I still don't market very much, just because I haven't needed to yet. And I'm more busy than I can handle at the
Your
moment.
service is kind of your sales in a sense. Like, keep doing what you're doing, and that breeds
Yeah.
more business.
But it allowed me to focus more on my inspections, and speed up my process again, because, every time, even though a lot of times I can stop and work, but or I could keep working while I'm on the phone. But, if I got to take an order, well, now I'm literally stopped in the middle of an inspection, scheduling everything.
Right.
And it's just not a sustainable business plan.
Yeah.
And so you've got to think about those things. I mean, your time and that's the one resource that we all have a limited amount of, and you can't get any of it back. And so, you have to be willing to invest in getting some time back. And that's the easiest way to do it, really, is just hire somebody that can take that load off of you, because it's a big load. It really is. I mean, unless you can train everybody to just do everything online, but
Stop.
I kind of feel like, though, then you're losing that personal touch that probably made you special in the beginning.
Exactly. That differentiates you.
Yeah.
Dude, that was well said. Well, shoot, man, that was kind of the main stuff I wanted to hear about. And from the story, I can't thank you enough for sharing that. Anything else on that front that you think guys usually miss, or they don't think about when coming across this decision or thinking about how to grow?
I think the marketplace and your comfort level will show you when the right time is to do this kind of stuff. That's what happened with me. Like I said, I was just starting to notice, like, nobody's going to see the inner workings of your business from the vantage point that you have. And when you start seeing stuff slipping through the cracks, or your frustration level is just super high all the time, then that's the marketplace, and that's life just saying, hey, guy, you need to do something different. Because those are the best indicators. I mean, if you're a smart guy, if you're smarter than me, hopefully you won't have to get to that point where you're actually, having to hit against the wall for a little while before you do it. But it really is. It's probably, IEB is one of those. They tell you, like, the first person you hire, don't hire an inspector first. Hire an admin person first, because then that's going to allow you to really put the effort into an inspector that you want to be. Like, my first guy, he watched me walk around and be on the phone all the dang time. That's not
Right.
a good business practice to
Right.
teach somebody.
Right.
And so, it's like, it'll, if you do that, if you want to grow, like, put the money there first. Get that, and then you'll be able to train people properly. You'll be able to go out and do what you've done best. I mean, anybody can answer the phones as long as you teach them what you expect.
Yeah.
But not everybody can do what you do, which is building a successful and sought after company. So, put the effort towards where it's going to be most effective and
It's really
better utilized.
It's really an investment in yourself, because you're doubling down on your ability as an inspector to grow your business and to do the inspections and be present and maybe get out there and actually market and grow. So
Absolutely. It really is an investment, and it's one that will reap you dividends. If it's like, I was scared about it too, but after going through it and everything, it all worked out really well, and probably better than I expected. Honestly, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any drop in sales. We had our best months ever after that. Like, so, you know what? Like, that's a success in my book.
yeah, you're off to the races.
And the other thing, this just popped in my head. One of the things people probably miss is make sure you communicate when you bring this person on, communicate what is happening and the changes that are happening to all of your agents. I think that's just a thing in general that a lot of people let slip through the cracks, is proper communication and keeping people abreast of what's happening, because that's when people freak out the most, is when they feel like they've lost insight into something that's important for their business or important for how they work. And so, and your agents that are depending on you and they have that relationship with you, if they call one day and all of a sudden it's a different person, and now they say, I've had agents that didn't get the memo, and all of a sudden they're like, well, what's going on? I had somebody who was like, call me up, are you going out of business? Did you sell your company? And I'm like, no, calm down.
Yeah.
But you can't get everybody, but that's a key component to successfully implementing something like this. Is just I just made an email, and it was just like an announcement email. I didn't make a thing out of it, like, new changes coming. It was like, hey, we're announcing a super awesome, and we made it like a total benefit for them, not for us. It was like, this is how it's gonna change how you interact with us and the benefits it's gonna have and all these things. So we just totally made it a positive and communicated that, and it went off without a hitch. So
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, hey man, I want to respect your evening. I'm sure you got other things to do, but thank you for sharing. This will be out in a couple days, a little mashup of a couple different people's perspectives on this, but I can't thank you enough. I'm sure someone will get something out of this somewhere, like they always do from anything you do. So,
I hope so.
Thanks a ton, man.
It's like anything else, man. I really do enjoy, helping guys out. You guys send me, I don't know, probably at least 2 or 3 people a month to talk to. So
You're good for the industry, man. And it's cool. Like that energy and that stuff, I think it comes back to you. You know what I mean? It's just like, you're radiating good energy, and we can't have enough of that in this industry,
Be good humans. That's kind of like my life motto.
Yeah. Can't wait to be at an event with you, man. I wish you're at the IEB
I know.
thing. We'll see you at the next one. We'll get you at the next one.
I know, man. I need to actually meet you guys at least once.
The next closest thing might be Internachi in California, but
when's that happening?
That's like October though, so that's not for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So for a while. Well, I keep threatening that I'm just going to buy a plane ticket and come hang out with you guys for a day. I may just do that.
Dude, you got to wait till it's nicer here than it is there, which it's not now.
Right?
Not now.
Dude, it is beautiful here right now. It's like, what is it? 74 degrees.
Stop. That's the time of year we should be coming to see you instead of you.
I'm sitting on my deck. Yeah, you guys need to come, dude. Well, I got a down like an Airbnb downstairs. You have a place to stay. I got the river in the backyard.
Man, good stuff.
So, anyways.
Well, all right, man. Well, I appreciate
it. It's good to see your face, even if it was virtually.
Yeah, exactly.